Hey everybody, it is Chuck Barone, Thursday, April the 25th, 2024. Guys, we knew it was going to be a crazy day. We knew we were going to get some data today that could move markets. We got it. We're going to talk about it in depth. But before I get started, let me take a half a second. Welcome all everybody to the show. Nice to see Salty and Big Smoke up already on the screen here. Nice to see everybody. It's going to be a great show today, guys. I got a lot of very, very good stuff to talk about. Really important things happening in the market right now. We're going to go over all of it in depth. But first, let me just say thank you, everybody, for your support, for being here, for watching these live streams, for watching the videos, your likes, your comments, everything you guys are doing, man. It's really helping the channel do better. We appreciate it. All right, let's talk about markets today. We knew we were going to get two important pieces of data today. We were going to get first quarter GDP. We were going to get jobs. We got them both, and they were kind of well, the GDP one certainly took all the attention. We'll talk about both of those, but let's just say that the GDP report was very disappointing to the markets. And as a result, the markets reacted like they do. Now, the GDP report was not a terrible report. It still showed decent growth, 1.6% for the quarter, but it wasn't enough. They were expecting 2 to 2.4%, so it was below what they expected, putting more fear of even stagflation in. Now you get the worst of it because part of the GDP report was first quarter PCE. Those numbers were really crappy. So now there's a lot of fear about what tomorrow's PCE report is going to show. It's crazy times, guys. It is. So let's look at today's markets. They were not so great. Let's just say that. The Dow falls 375 points, now at 38,035 or 85 points. The NASDAQ falls down 100 points exactly, 15,611. S&P down 23 points, 5,048. So stocks down across the board. I don't know how GDP growth is going to affect their earnings so much, but this is all about rate cuts. Like I said, the PCE numbers in that GDP report scared them. So the market reacted, and so did the bond market. Bonds selling off today, another bad day in the bond market. The 10-year up 5 basis points, now sitting at 4.70. There's the one that shook everybody. The 2-year up 6 basis points, now sitting at 5% even. Well, guys, you can see it's narrowing. You can see everything's on the way up. Now we got the 2-year at 5. That's got the market scared shitless. You get the 10-year at 5, which is not beyond belief. Now you're going to really start affecting mortgage rates. You're going to start, there's going to be more and more talk of rate hikes. Not a good scenario in stocks and bonds today. The dollar surprisingly also sold off, down 23 basis points, 105.58 on the index. So it's still a great strong number for the dollar, but it was just over 106. So the dollar is starting to slide now, down more than a half a point on the index. That's really strange, right? Because you would think with rate cuts getting further and further off the table, the dollar would be strengthening. It's not. Strange. Precious metals. Well, the dollar going down helps metals today. Plus the boom is on, guys. So gold jumps another $17. Back up $2,333.20. Silver goes up 28 cents today, $27.49 for an ounce of silver. So still good, solid numbers for gold and silver, even though it's not as exciting as the numbers we were seeing just a short time ago. Be patient, guys. It's just working its way into these new higher numbers. It has to settle at these numbers before it can advance. You know how that is. Nothing just goes straight up. Gold and silver, the bull is on, and it's just getting started. Oil today, after going down earlier in the day, was making me happy. Now oil at the end of the day rallies back up, ending up 98 cents today, $83.79 for a barrel of West Texas Intermediate. Oil going the wrong way. I guess the saber rattling and all the news, market always wants to bid oil up. Bitcoin rallies up today, up $770. Last time I saw 64,846. So Bitcoin's still good and solid and firm, right? So there's the market in a nutshell. The only real good news out of that market today, in my mind, was gold and silver. I guess Bitcoin advancing back up, getting back up towards 65,000. Remember, guys, it was just at 70, so that's quite a correction. That's about 10% there it's rallying up from. We'll see how it continues. All right, so let's talk about this GDP report. That was obviously the big news of the day. As I was saying, the markets were expecting 2 to 2.4%. They got 1.6. So 1.6% growth in the first quarter. In my mind, still a decent growth number. The Fed does not want GDP above 1.8. 1.8 is their number, the max. You get above that, now they start to believe that that's an inflationary situation. So this number really not bad news for the Fed's targets, but the market was disappointed. So the market had a little tizzy fit like it does. Now, interesting was, as part of the report, it showed first quarter PCE coming in at 3.48% of the top line. So just about 3.5% of the top line, 3.75% on the core number. Now they cut that down 3.4, 3.7, but I saw the rest of it. So these numbers, not happy news for the Fed. Much higher than they were expecting, actually. It looks like the January or February PCE numbers will have to be revised up to make this make sense, because I think PCE was 2% last month. So that's going to be disappointing to the market, because these numbers, you lose credibility when you do that kind of silly stuff, right? So now market has big fear about what tomorrow's going to bring, because tomorrow we're going to get that PCE report. We're going to get consumer spending. We're going to get consumer, borrowing, debt. So it's going to be a fascinating day tomorrow, another big, big day. But this report kind of got the market spooked, right? Now, this, of course, is the absolute worst case scenario. This is the one they've been worried about. This is what the big fear has been with inflation, is you go from inflation to stagflation, okay? Now, stagflation is a really weird economic situation you don't see very often, okay? Last we saw it here was the late 70s into the 80s. Stagflation is simply this: when you have a not so great economy, but not a falling down debt economy, just a kind of bleh economy, and you add into that bleh economy high inflation numbers. The worst of it, you get job losses with that and higher costs for everything. It makes everybody very, very, very unhappy, okay? The Fed will do what they got to do to make this not happen. So this really, again, this number, this stagflation scare, okay, is what really, really spooked everybody today. Like I said, it's high inflation with a crappy economy. So now the markets are already adjusting the Fed futures, right? So now there's basically 0% chance in May, basically 0% chance in June. They're talking about July, but not very much. Now the odds on, the highest now, December, 50% chance in December. Hey, every once in a while, blind squirrel, every once in a while we get it right over here, right? So, I've been telling you guys the reasons. Now, this report only strengthens what I've been saying. We're not going to have rate cuts this year like they were anticipating. The inflation situation is not going to allow it. When you add in the election and the people running in that election, it makes it, in my mind, super highly unlikely that they're going to cut rates during an election. So you have it, maybe if we're lucky, we get a quarter point cut in December. Okay. And the truth of the matter is, if this GDP continues down, well, that's going to make them a little more comfortable cutting. But if this PCE stays higher, because if this PCE is where it is, imagine what CPI, PPI are going to look like this month, guys. It's not going to be good, man. So we'll see what tomorrow brings on this number. But in higher inflation is a scary, scary thing, because that could mean higher rates. They could actually have to pivot. They've already pivoted from rate cuts to higher for longer, pivoted back, I should say. Now they might have to pivot to higher than we thought with rate increases for longer. And that could bring about a market turnaround that would be pretty significant. So it's going to be fascinating tomorrow. It's going to be a very, very, very big day. Now, what's been happening lately, and let's see if we get this again, is the market's been whipsawing, right? So one day, bad news, well, everything looks like crap. The next day, big rally, oh, it's not so bad, blah, blah, blah. We'll see if we get that tomorrow. If the PCE number comes in mild, consumer spending stays high, all of a sudden everybody's going to get happy. We could see a little bit of a rally at the end of the week. That's like I was saying, guys, none of this is normal. This is like crazy time. So you got to kind of almost like the character actors do, or the method actors, you have to get into character and like think like the crazies think. And I got to tell you, man, it's really, really, really hard to do. I tend to be, I'm a left brain, is it the logical side? Logical and lower. Inflation comes in higher. Fears of stagflation. Don't forget government debt. They had the auction yesterday went off okay. Huge auction of 10-year notes. We'll see how long this Treasury auctions are going to hold up. I think that could be the big fly in the ointment. Then you got the Treasury also now buying back bonds. Okay, what could go wrong there, kids? So anyway, there's the GDP story. Now, all that does is set it up tomorrow for the inflation number we're going to get. I'll be watching this TV 5:30 in the morning like I was this morning to see exactly what in the hell we're going to get. All right, so let's talk about some other stuff that we need to know about for today. The jobs report, one that got kind of washed away very quietly, came in today at 207,000. They were expecting 215,000. All I can say is I'm glad it didn't come in at 212,000 for the 6 out of 7 months. Even Rick Santelli on CNBC made note that the number has been 212,000 for 5 of the past 7 weeks. It was 5 of 6 when I told you guys about it. So jobs are still there. Okay, so that means the economy is still going so great. We're going to see what the drag is on this GDP. They're talking about it, the cost of the import stuff and some of the mechanics of creating this GDP report. They're going to parse it tomorrow and try to come out with, well, it wasn't as bad as we thought. We'll see. But the jobs report came in hotter than they thought, shows still strengthen the economy, strengthen the corporation, strengthen the job world. We can't complain there. Okay. Have you seen this one, guys? San Francisco office building that was bought in 2016 for $62 million. Beautiful building. Beautiful building. Just sold $6.5 million. Almost 90% decrease. More than 90%, I guess. This is what's happening with office space, especially in some of these major cities. $78 a square foot for this building. I'm telling you, somebody's going to score. I'm guessing. I didn't see who the buyer was, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Blackstone in there with their trillions of dollars, because that's basically getting the building for free, right? So office space, office buildings, we told you what's going to be happening with those. We told you it's a crisis that's going very quietly, like a slow motion disaster, right? Well, it's still going and it's getting worse. You're talking this is prime office space in San Francisco, guys, down 90%. Net neutrality, government brings back net neutrality. I think a good thing. What that does is it makes where these search engines cannot block out certain sites they don't like, can't, bottleneck it, make it everything slower. Like, it works for the betterment of the net where the providers are all neutrals. Biden wants to double the capital gains tax. Great job, Joe. Great job, Joe. So, capital gains, 20% tax right now, wants to double it to almost 40%. Of course, he's calling it a tax on the rich. Not exactly, though, Joe, because you're forgetting when somebody sells their house, if they make above a certain number, that becomes capital gains. Now you want to tax Joe's six-pack there. You promised you wouldn't do that. Let's see. General Motors. Did you see this one, guys? General Motors using their OnStar system along with some other bullshit to actually be tracking your driving, and they're through the companies that work with them on their OnStar, reporting your driving habits to your insurance companies. So now your car is spying on you. And if you got a surprise insurance bump, you might know why if you have GM OnStar in your car, right? Let's see what else. Non-compete. You saw this, guys. The Federal Trade Commission came out banning, in most cases, non-compete clauses. I'm for that one as well, and especially in most situations. Because in most situations, the non-compete is simply to keep a person captive at a company for the money they're already getting an outside offer from a competitor. You can't take that offer. You don't get the bump from your boss you would get if you didn't have the non-compete, so he would keep you. So we'll see now, of course, big lawsuits coming up to fight it. The American U.S. Chamber of Commerce against it. Going to be fascinating to watch that one play out. Let's see, what else do I got here? To finish it today. Gen Z, you guys heard this one. Remember we were talking last year about this phenomenon of quiet quitting? Now they're past quiet quitting. Now they're calling it resenteeism, where they're not doing their minimum amount of work at the job so much anymore, although that's basically what they're doing. Now they're doing the minimum amount of work, and they're resenting you for having to do even the minimum amount of work. I don't know where that one's going, guys. These Gen Zers are interesting. Anyway, I babble on. That's it for the day, guys. A full calendar of stuff. Sorry I couldn't get into a lot of detail on some of this other stuff with this big GDP story going, but take a look at some of this stuff. It's crazy times. Anyway, that's it for the day. As always, I want to thank everybody and let you know how much we appreciate your support. Please hit the like button. It helps changes the algorithm, gets our videos out there. Make sure you hit the subscribe. Make sure you hit notifications. Hit all the buttons. Hit them all. Share it. And we'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a huge day, guys. Don't miss the show tomorrow. We'll bring you the news you need. I'll be on comments here in a couple of minutes, and we will be on there throughout the night. Sorry I got casual today, guys. Tonight's the draft. My Buffalo Bills picking 28th. At least that's what they're scheduled to pick. We need a wide receiver. Give us a good one, guys. Anyway, back tomorrow. Love you. See you then.